friends. Welcome to Between the Now and the Next podcast. I'm your host, Heather N. Justice. And today I've got someone on the show who knows exactly what it's like to live in the tension of transformation. My guest is Leah Hope. You might know her from Instagram as Leah Hope Health. She's a health transformation coach, a real talk encourager, and someone who has walked through one of the most powerful personal journeys I've seen. Leah lost over 200 pounds naturally. No surgery, no gimmicks, just a whole lot of patience, mindset shifts, and choosing herself over and over again. Her mantra is not chasing a smaller body, but a bigger life. But here's the thing, Leah isn't just about weight loss. She's about helping people create lives they actually want to live. She's got this energy that's part best friend, part coach, and part you got this hype squad. And today we're talking all about the in-between moments of change, those awkward and often uncomfortable seasons when the results haven't shown up yet, but the work is happening anyway. So grab your headphones and take us on your walk. You're gonna love this conversation with Leah. Welcome, Leah.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I have been following along on your journey for the last, I want to say, 2 years. We met in an online group and I started following you. I loved the content you put out and just how honest and real you are, how vulnerable you are, and the things that you share. I'm thankful for someone like you that shows up on social media so we can see how real you are.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That is definitely my goal. It's so funny when I'll receive comments that are like, you seem so normal. I'm like, yeah, I am normal. And I just started posting online and then it turned into what it has turned into.
Which is awesome. I mean, you've been on the Drew Barrymore show. How was that experience, going to New York and sharing all about your journey and your experience?
Yeah, so it was a really cool experience. It was different than I expected. And I mean, you can never really know what to expect with something like that. So it was very fast paced, but it was really cool. I'm so grateful that they gave me the opportunity to come and share my story. It was a fashion segment. So it was about styling my new body after weight loss. So then they did gift me $5,000 to spend at a local mall here to buy a whole new wardrobe, which is really exciting. I haven't spent it yet because I'm in the process of getting loose skin removed this year. So I asked them, I said, can I wait until I get all the loose skin removed and I'll be in a body that's more the body that I'll be in for a while, hopefully. And they were like, yes, we can wait. So that'll be really fun to go and spend that once I'm recovered from all of these surgeries.
That's awesome. I love your mantra of you're not all about being in a smaller body, but living a bigger life. I know from social media and your stories that it was an experience you had at Disney with your nephew, and you wanted to be this aunt that was very involved, but you were getting so overheated and so exhausted and you were getting migraines and all these things are happening that you ended up having to sit down and not really get to enjoy the fullness and getting to see this childlike energy that your nephews were experiencing. Talk a little bit about that and how it encouraged you to really embrace what you were hoping to find with your body and embracing this bigger life.
Yeah, it was an experience at Disneyland with my nephew, and I love being an aunt. Being an aunt is my favorite thing to be, and I still think I was a great aunt at my bigger size, but I was also very aware of my limitations. Like if he wanted me to sit on the floor to play with him, I knew I'm gonna need to be near a wall or a table because I needed support to lift myself back up. It was so difficult to even just get up from the ground and like, oh, can you play tag with us? And I could run for 5 seconds and then I'd be done. And so I knew it was limiting me in a lot of ways, but I didn't want to miss out on this experience at Disneyland with my nephew. So I went, and it was a really hard day for me. It was just so hard on my body. I was almost 400 pounds at the time, and I couldn't be fully present with him. And I drove home from the park that day and just thought, like, this is not the life that I want to be living. For a lot of my life, I had a very clear vision of what I wanted my future to be, but the path that I was on was leading me nowhere closer to that. It was only leading me farther from it. And I examined that and was like, the daily life that I'm living, the habits that I currently have are not bringing me closer to the version of myself that not only that I want to be, that I know I can be. And so I just started small from there. I decided to start making small changes, eating one nutritious food a day, walking for 10 minutes a day. It had to feel very doable for me because I used to be the all or nothing mindset. Like, we're changing everything. We're doing an hour workout and I'm throwing all the bad food out and da 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 da. And this time I didn't do that. I just started incorporating healthy foods. Like, I didn't restrict anything. I didn't cut out any food groups. At the beginning of my journey, I was still eating the stuff I was eating before. I have a food journal and it says potato chips and dip. And sometimes I would dip Teddy Grahams in frosting, and that was a dessert. And so it still says that, but then it also says eggs and grapes or something like that. And that was me adding in foods that I know are good for me, healthy foods, without just automatically taking out everything that might not be as beneficial for me. And that made it feel so much more doable and sustainable for me. And I really focused on the habits more than anything. In the past, I never really wanted to change my habits. I just wanted to change my body. I didn't want to live differently. I just wanted to look differently. And maybe that can work for a period of time, but I don't know if it can actually sustain a 200-pound natural weight loss and then help you maintain that. Like, there has to be a bigger why. There has to be a bigger reason. And I wanted a bigger life. And that's really what it was to me. And so this time I focused more on gaining health rather than just focusing on losing weight. And that is what helped me continue during the times where I wasn't seeing the results, or it was difficult, or I was discouraged. I reminded myself, I'm becoming this person. I have these healthy habits now, and this is benefiting me, even if the scale isn't showing that right now.
Absolutely. Yes. Something you said, you didn't want to change the way that you ate or the way that you did things, but you just wanted to be in a smaller body. I relate to that so much because I've struggled on and off with my weight my entire life. And it's really hard. It is a complete lifestyle change. And I think that's very hard to ingrain in someone, that you have to make these changes, not for just a period of time. Not saying you can't ever enjoy the foods that you once loved. It's not saying you can never have ice cream. You can never have a hamburger. You can never have French fries, but you can't eat them for every meal 7 days a week and expect to maintain what you've lost or how you're feeling, because when you eat that way, you don't feel great.
Right. Yeah. You can't stay the same and expect a different result.
Yes.
If you want a different result, there has to be changes involved. I never wanted that before. Like, every time I had tried in the past, I never actually acknowledged I'm going to be living a different way. I'm going to have different habits. I'm going to have a different schedule. I never thought about that. I just thought I'm going to do what I need to do to get the result that I want and then continue living the way that I was living before. But that's just not how it works. I mean, maybe it is how it works. Maybe you can get the result, but then the result won't stay if you go back to how you were living before. Like, it requires an identity shift.
There's that quote, you don't get what you wish for, you get what you work for. Every time I see that somewhere or hear that, I'm like, yeah, that's so true. But a lot of times we don't want to put in the work. We just want it to come easy. With your transformation and the way things have shifted in your life and how you're chasing this bigger life, I'm sure that means you're living more fully now too. And so what does fully living really mean to you now?
Yes, I'm definitely living more fully and free. Like, I just feel free. That's what living fully means to me. I was so limited before by my physical capacity, by my energy, my endurance, and physically where my body could fit and where it could go. And if I needed 2 seats on an airplane and so many things like that, it just held me back in so many ways. But I've also learned the physical was the main part of feeling limited. But there are so many mental and emotional things too. The physical weight had an effect on my mental and emotional weight too. I was more burdened mentally and emotionally just because I was in that body that I knew was limited, but I tried to pretend like it wasn't. I tried to pretend like I was okay with it, and this is just how it has to be. I was aware that I was missing out on things, but I never actually spent time thinking about those things because
Yeah.
it would have been too difficult. Like I didn't want to actually come face to face with that. I wanted to live in denial, and I did.
Yeah.
And that is why I stayed in the same place for a long time, because I didn't actually confront what my struggle was and what was holding me back and what was limiting me. And I discovered that nurturing one area of your life, nurturing my physical health, focusing on that absolutely helped my mental and emotional and spiritual health as well. And the same goes in reverse. If one of them is hurting, if you're neglecting one of them, it's going to negatively impact the rest of them too. And I never wanted to admit that. I always told myself, yeah, my physical health isn't good, but at least my emotional and mental health is great. And it wasn't until I actually came face to face with everything that I was like, oh, these are all tied together. Just realizing that is also part of freedom. Just becoming fully aware is part of living fully and feeling free, which is interesting because I used to think that avoiding and neglecting and keeping the peace in certain areas, but it wasn't real peace. I used to think that that was more freeing, but it's not actually freeing. Freeing is seeing everything for what it is and saying, this is what I'm in control of, this is what I'm not in control of, and then doing what you can do from there.
That's so true about the control aspect. I feel like a lot of people don't want to go to therapy because they don't want to dig back into things that have happened in their life and how that may affect what they're living and how they're living today. And you have to do that and figure out what the root cause is, right? That whole living fully and living freely. I love how you said to live fully is to live free. That's so good because when I experience something, I'm like, why did I react that way? Or how could I have done that differently? Or was that out of a place of hurt or abandonment or mistrust? And then when you really dig back into it and think about why I did that, and here's why I did that. And now this is something that I can control by trying to fix my reaction and fix not what happened to me, but how I react to what happened to me.
Yes. Yeah. And recognizing that and accepting that, like what is in your control and what is not in your control, that in itself is freeing if you're able to let go of what's not in your control and take responsibility for what is in your control.
Yes, that is huge. So now that you're in this season of fully living and living freely, what are some things that you're doing that once may have felt out of reach, but that you're able to do now and that it's within reach for you now?
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of things that are one-time experience. They don't have to be one time, but I went ziplining. That was something I had wanted to do, and I was over the weight limit for so much of my life. And so as soon as I was under the weight limit, I went ziplining. And same with horseback riding. I did that as a kid and I hadn't done it for so long. I did that, just trying so many new things. I went kayaking, and it's stuff that I don't even know that I want to do that. I don't even know that I want to do it again, but I want it to be up to me. I want it to be my choice. I don't want my body or its size, capacity, or limited endurance to make the choice for me. So that's just what has made such a difference is being able to say, maybe I do want to do that. Maybe I don't want to do that. And I get to decide. And I love that. But so those are some of the more specific things. Really just my entire life is different. Before I spent so much of my life just home all day long. And I work from home mostly. I'm a photographer. And so most of my work is done editing photos on a computer. But it was such a burden to go anywhere, to go to the store. I used to circle the parking lot forever just so I could find the closest spot up front because I'd already be out of breath by the time that I got to the entrance of the store. And so again, it's just so freeing to be like, oh, I can just stop there and do that. Or someone asks me to go out and I'm like, yeah, I can do that. Like my schedule is so full to the point where I'm like, how is this happening? How do I keep filling my schedule up so much? But it's also stuff that I want to do. And it's stuff that I am thankful that I'm able to do. Even just the other day, I ran 3 or 4 errands in a row, and it was hot here. I'm in Phoenix. It was almost 100 degrees that day already. And I wasn't sweating and it didn't feel so taxing. And I was just thinking, wow, I used to think errands were the worst thing in the world. And now it's just nothing. I mean, I'm not like, woohoo, a day of errands or whatever, but it's effortless now. It's so interesting because I used to convince myself that my life was easier. Oh, it's easy not working out and eating whatever I want. And maybe day to day choices were easier. But overall, it made my life harder in the long run. I thought that I was living an effortless life, but yet so many things required more effort because I was living effortlessly, as in wasn't implementing healthy habits at all. And so now implementing healthy habits, yes, that takes daily discipline, but that makes other things so much more effortless and easy and easier in the long run. And it's just such an interesting thing because we have to accept that daily discipline is hard to choose in the moment, but it's going to be so much more beneficial for you in the long term, even though not following through with discipline, not following through with your healthy habits is easier in the moment, it's negatively impacting you in the long term.
Yes. So people that are listening that maybe not wanting to be in a smaller body or lose weight, maybe none of this even pertains to them, but they're listening because they just want to hear a conversation between two people. But we can apply that same logic. Okay, if I take the time before I go to bed each night to clean up my space, to put things away, fold the blankets, just tidy up. And then when I wake up in the morning, it feels good that I'm waking up to cleanliness and it's not chaotic when I walk out of my bedroom and into a living room that has blankets everywhere and dirty dishes everywhere. So it's putting in those habits, right, that maybe are annoying or frustrating to have to do after a long work day, but then it's going to be beneficial for the next day because it's going to start everything off on the right foot.
Yeah, absolutely. It's helped me to ask myself, like, what will future me be thankful that I chose?
Yes, I love that question. Yeah. I do that too. I love
Your
it.
present me maybe doesn't want to choose this, but future me will be, I'm so glad you decided to do that.
And that's what they say too. If people work out, nobody ever said, I wish I wouldn't have done that workout once they're
Right.
finished.
Yeah.
They're always like, man, I'm really glad I did that.
I think that's how I feel every time. I am very thankful that I have found forms of exercise and physical activity that I do enjoy. But when it comes to working out as in strength training, I don't enjoy it. I just don't.
Yeah.
But I do it because it's good for me. And even though beforehand I'm dreading it or just really not wanting to go, there has never been a time afterwards where I'm like, yeah, I shouldn't have gone. No, every single time I'm like, that was good. That was good for me. I'm glad I did that. I feel more confident. I feel stronger. And most importantly, I feel proud of myself for following through with something that I know is beneficial for me, even though it wasn't easy to choose in the moment. And that's just such a good feeling to feel proud of yourself for hard choices.
Yes. Yeah, it's so true. I hated working out and I struggle to find a workout that I love or that I enjoy or that's fun. But what I've noticed is if I'm cleaning my house and I'm wearing my Fitbit and I'm sweating and I'm really deep cleaning, I look at that Fitbit when I'm done and it's like your zone goal was between 5 and 30 today and you're at 259. Heck yeah. I just worked out. I burnt a lot of calories cleaning my house or gardening and pulling weeds and doing those kind of things. I feel like I'm being productive and getting something done, but then I'm also sweating and burning calories and feeling good about what I'm doing.
Absolutely. I guess you might not call it working out, but it is physical activity. I saw something once that said the reason that we have to work out and strength train in this day is because we're not living the way that we were designed to live. As in, we were designed to be having garden, growing all our own food and doing all this stuff in the yard and walking everywhere and cleaning. And we just have so many conveniences now, which I love.
Yeah.
I love conveniences.
I know.
But then it means if we're not exerting as much physical activity, just living, then you need to intentionally exercise. But if you live a life where every day you're doing physical activity, that's the way that we were designed to live.
Yeah, that's true. That is so true. We do have a lot of conveniences. I went to New York last year in April, and I'm thinking of all the walking that I did there. And I mean, I can see why people do not have vehicles because you don't move. You're just sitting there for hours. But just the amount of walking, oh my gosh, I haven't walked this much and I don't know how long. But yeah, my friend got married and moved to New York with her husband. And she was like, if I want Chick-fil-A now,
You got to work for it.
yeah, I can't just get in my car and drive there. I have to actually make a conscious effort. How bad do I really want this?
Yeah. Wow.
You know? Yeah.
That makes sense. That's maybe, yeah, if you do want it, then it's like, I'm also getting some physical activity in and having a food that I enjoy that maybe might not be benefiting me that much, but the physical activity is benefiting you. Obviously, there are so many conveniences in New York. However, when you're used to driving a car and just like driving right up to the store or the restaurant or whatever, you would have to examine those choices more. Like,
Yeah.
it's actually worth it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Even for me, sometimes when I know I need to go to the grocery store, I know I need food in my house, but I'm just too exhausted to do it. I'm like, what can I make out of the food I
Yeah.
have in my pantry? Okay, I've got some cottage cheese, some fruit. All right, let me throw that together. That gives me some
Yeah.
protein. That gives me some fruit. Okay, I'll throw some carrots with hummus on the side too, or something like that. Just throw a little girl dinner together, you know?
Yes. I love that.
So, do you ever feel surprised by the things that you find bring you joy or that you find yourself feeling confident about now compared with before?
Yeah. It really is the little things. Yes, my life is so different and better in so many big ways. But I think day to day, like the little things that came up like a few weeks ago, I went to the dentist and it's like walking up this flight of stairs, which it's like a flight and a half. I used to dread doing that. I would go up half of them. I'd stop and take a break to catch my breath. I'd go up the rest of them and then I'd stop and take a break to catch my breath so that I didn't walk into the dentist's office out of breath, unable to talk, and being able to just go up it quickly, walk right into the dentist's office without needing to catch my breath. That brings me joy. And then again, in the dentist's office, sitting in the chair, they have these arm rests. And normally I was used to arm rests, like digging in to the side of my hips and it would hurt. But these specifically jet out. When you sit, your hips are too big, they open. But it was always embarrassing. I would bring it back and then they would pop open while he's like cleaning my teeth and stuff. And it was so fun to be like, oh my gosh, it's not popping open.
Yeah.
Those things absolutely bring me so much joy now. And it's interesting because it's bringing joy to other people. It's the gratefulness of I didn't get to experience it this way before. And now I do get to experience it. And
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah.
I will say that I feel my confidence doesn't come from looking a certain way. I really have discovered that I feel more confident when I know that I'm taking care of myself and taking care of my body and my mind and my heart. That is where my confidence comes from. Because I started feeling more confident when I started these healthy habits. I was exercising every day. I was eating nutritious food every day. I've noticed my confidence has come from not having a smaller body, but from knowing that I'm taking care of myself and taking care of my body and my mind and my heart and my spirit. That's a confidence you can't fake. Even as I was still over 300 pounds, but I had been for a while implementing daily exercise, eating nutrient dense foods, been in counseling, been journaling, my confidence was still growing. Someone on the outside might be like, why are you confident? You're over 300 pounds. But it wasn't about what I looked like. It was about that feeling of confidence. It can't be faked or forced. You can fake and force confidence if it's just about what you look like and the aesthetics. But when it comes from an inner place of feeling relief, knowing I know I'm taking care of me, I know I'm doing what's best for me. That doesn't mean you're being perfect. You also have to offer yourself grace. It's been so special to realize, yes, I'm so much more confident now than I was before, but I truly do feel like it's coming from that place rather than just because now my body is closer to what society deems as a normal body.
I love that you talked about, we're seeing a lot of comments about people saying things like, why are you doing this skin removal surgery and the breast lift before you have kids or whatever? And you made sure to address that. This isn't about that. This is about me and feeling better in my body that I have right now. It wasn't about you're going to wait until all of those things happen to do this. Do it now.
Yeah. And I think that's a personal decision for everyone. I've gotten multiple comments from people saying, oh, I want the surgery, but I'm going to wait until after I have kids. And everyone has to decide that for themselves. I'm 36 years old. I'm single. I want to be married. I would love to have a family, but I'm not going to put a timeline on my marriage just so that I can have kids naturally. I'm not going to sacrifice the quality of my marriage for the timing of it. So I'm not going to wait for something that may or may not ever happen. I want to feel at home in my body. I want to feel connected to my body. These surgeries are a part of making that possible for me. And if there comes a time where I meet a man and we get married and I can still have biological kids, then I'll move forward with that. But I'm not going to not live my life waiting for something that may or may not happen. I'm going to live my life now the way that I want to live it in a way that feels good for me.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's so brave. That's a really strong decision to make because you are living in the now, in the present, and you're doing what feels best for you at this time in your life. It's not like what you're doing is negatively impact your future. If this is what God has planned for you for your future, it's not like it's going to affect negatively marriage or kids. I've seen plenty of women that have had surgeries and things lifted and tucked. They end up getting pregnant and then afterwards they do it again. It's not something you can only do one time in your whole life.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously it's expensive. So I understand people saying like, I only want to spend the money once. I can just decide then. I also think the amount of loose skin that I've had from 200 pounds extra weight is going to be drastically different from any loose skin I would have from pregnancy. So it might not even be enough to where I'm like, oh, I want to do this again.
What encouragement would you give to someone who feels that their whole life is one big long waiting period? You have been waiting to live a bigger life and have a body that you feel at home in. You are waiting to be married and have a family and things like that. So what encouragement would you give someone when it comes to body image, relationships, or belonging, anything like that?
It comes back to the control piece. My encouragement is to examine what is in your control and what isn't, and do your best to let go of what isn't. And obviously, of course, I know that is easier said than done. Absolutely.
Preach.
If you have faith like we do,
Yes.
I think that makes it a lot easier because it really is about trusting God's timing. Absolutely trust Him with my life and plans more than I trust myself.
Yes.
So anytime that I'm getting caught up, like, oh, this hasn't happened by this time, or I thought this was going to happen when I was this age, I just remember, why do I think that I know what's best for me? There have been a lot of times where I thought I knew what was best for me and it was not what was best for me. So I need to just continue to trust God's timing while making sure that I'm taking action on the things that are in my control.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's so important. I think for a long time when I was overweight, obese, living in my bigger body, I just prayed, please give me the motivation to make this possible. I prayed so hard for that. That was my choice all along. I did get some motivation, but I also learned to follow through whether I have motivation or not. Really focusing on this is something I can do that is going to bring me closer to the life that I want to be living, the future that I want, the person that I want to be. So I'm going to do that. And this thing that I want is out of my hands and it's in God's hands, and His hands are much better than mine. And so accepting what is out of your control while also intentionally making efforts in all the areas that you can control.
I feel you on that because I have autoimmune conditions. It is so hard to find the strength some days to do stuff. I totally rely on the Lord and just say, Lord, please just get me through this day, to get me through this next hour, get me through this next task I need to complete. His plans are always better than ours. Always better than ours. It is tough sometimes, but you're right. I think having faith and having that relationship with the Lord and being able to talk to Him like He's a friend and knowing He's cheering us on, He's on our side.
It's overwhelming in the best way.
It is. And so now the question that I like to ask all my guests is, if you could go to your younger self, if you could set the scene for us and tell us where you would be, who would be around, and what you would say to your younger self.
I think that I would probably want to go back to my teenage self, somewhere in that where I really started being insecure and comparing and confidently be able to say, you are enough and you are not too much. Because I think so much insecurity comes from one of those.
Totally.
Either feeling like you're not enough or you're too much. I think that's where so much of my second guessing myself and holding myself back comes from. I would want to say that and probably just say I love you. Just say you are enough and you are not too much and I love you.
I love that.
I don't know that it would make a difference or make an impact to my self-involved teenage self, but maybe a little bit later it would catch up to me and make an impact.
Yes. Oh, well, thank you for sharing that. And thank you for coming on and sharing your story and how you got to where you are. I'm excited for what's ahead for you.
I'm excited for what's ahead for me too. And that's a really good feeling because
Yeah.
I don't think I had that for most of my life. There is anticipation for what is next. And that's just a really wonderful feeling.
Yes. And with everything you've done, honestly, looking at this big picture, and we're not just talking about the number on the scale, but that is a huge number of weight to lose naturally. And you did that. Good for you, because that also is transforming your overall health in a lot of different areas. So that's something to be really proud of. And then you're sharing and being vulnerable, and the stuff that you're putting out here on social media and sharing with others is giving other people hope and encouragement and the strength to maybe look at your story and go, okay, so she started walking for 10 minutes a day and decided to eat one healthy meal a day. Okay, I think I can do one of those. I'm going to try one thing. And you're encouraging thousands of people to do the same.
Thank you.
So, of course. I'm just so glad we had this chance to talk, and I'll be following along. I'm sure whenever your new things come out, new projects that you're going to be working on, then I hope I get to have you on and have another conversation about what's new for you.
Yeah, I would love that.
Thank you so much for being here, Leah.
Thank you.
What a meaningful conversation with Leah. I love how she reminds us that living fully is really about living free from limitations, free from denial, and free to choose the life we want rather than the one we feel stuck in. If there's one takeaway from today's episode, it's this: small steps of discipline today lead to a more empowered tomorrow. And sometimes the most profound freedom comes not from avoiding hard things, but from facing them head on and choosing growth. In the show notes, you can find the link to Leah's digital guide, which includes everything that helped her to lose over 200 pounds and begin living life to the fullest. You can also find her Instagram handle there. Over to her socials and give her a follow for regular posts that will motivate and encourage you. If today's episode spoke to you, will you share it with a friend, leave a review, and be sure to follow the podcast so you don't miss what's coming next. All of these actions really help podcasts like mine get out into the world and reach more listeners. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, keep living between the now and the next.